Welcome to another episode of Bird Gang Nation Sports Talk. I'm your host, Bird Gang 31. And it's my pleasure to bring back to the nation my boy, Mr. Chris Franklin. How you doing today, my guy?
Hey, doing all right, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. It's the first day of pads for the team. You know what I'm saying? We out there. We're not really hitting. I heard we were thugging today, thubbing each other. But, you know, the hitting's coming. The hitting's coming.
Yeah, it was a good sight. See, that's how it was nice to see everybody getting on the field when training camp first started. But now to see the actual pads on and to see everybody really hitting a little bit, it went thud, and then knowing that live is coming around the corner is getting exciting. You get to see more of the camp battles take their truest form. So should be a good time.
Nice. Let's go back to last week in terms of without the pads on. What were some of your biggest takes from last week's, without the pads on?
Well, first off, starting with the offense, to seeing what's going on with that. I think the running backs they're pretty deep at that position, and it showed. I mean, there's a lot of speed there, a lot of experience with guys like Jordan Howard and Kerryon Johnson. But then you have the young guys starting to flash a little bit. You see Kenny Gainwell coming out there and catching the ball pretty decently. He's expected for a rookie. Still looks like he's thinking through his routes and not letting his athletic talents take its shape. But when he gets out there, he's running pretty well. And then Jason Huntley, he's been looking pretty good, surprisingly good. He's looked very quick. I mean, even today he made a quick cut on the outside and outran some people as well too along the sideline. So he did well on that. And Sanders has that little extra step to him, and it's been pretty. He looks good. I mean, I liked it. It was yesterday, I believe, yesterday's practice. He was jawing with the defense a little bit. So it's like he's getting into it and he's really focused. And so I think the running backs look good, and that defensive line has been good. Josh Sweat's had a very, very good camp. So he's been a standout in camp so far. So I think when you see the defensive line, the running backs, and just seeing how everything else was wrong, I think that's where we're at right now.
Nice. With those running backs, you said, Huntley's looking good out there. How's Holyfield been? Because I was really wondering about that. I've seen a couple clips online with him, and the boy looks big. You know what I'm saying? He looks big, strong, and it seemed like maybe this year he might be able to get his chance to get on that field.
When it comes to Holyfield, last year I really thought he was going to make the roster. I had him on my final 53, projected him in final 53 and didn't make it because I saw him as like that big short down yardage back, similar to the role that Howard played. And he's pretty much right now, I think it might be tough for him to make the roster just given the depth, how much talent's in that position. He's done a decent job when it comes to catching the ball at the backfield. He's been primarily working with the third team, so he's had Nick Mullins throw him the ball, and this offense so far has focused a lot on a lot of the shorter routes. It reminds me in some ways of like the old school, like the true or West Coast offense, where you get the ball to your running backs and your tight ends, you get it quickly out there, and that's what they've been doing. You see a lot of check downs, whether it's Mullins or if he's working with the second team with Joe Flacco, they've been hitting him with that small thing. So it's a long shot. I think he makes this roster, but he's going to put enough tape, and who knows, maybe he winds up on a practice squad as one of the protected players, potentially being called up for week, or just remaining with the Eagles in that capacity, just practicing.
What about Killins? Have you seen anything from Killins? The last I checked, he was supposed to be a receiver. He's supposed to be a running back. He's supposed to be doing either one, and I haven't really seen nothing about him. So where's Killins been at practice?
He's been primarily lining up at wide receiver and put him in the slot a little bit, and when he's gotten the opportunity to throw the ball, it's been hit and miss, and some of it's not on him. Some of the throws have been a little tough. I mean, one time, and it's tough. I mean, when you're going into a 7-7 or 11-11, trying to find Killins against the offensive line, like it's a benefit, and it hurts him at times because you see the side. He can hide behind the offensive line when he's running the ball. It's tough to find him, and he's quick. When you get into the pass game, when he tries to settle into a middle in a zone in the middle of the field, and you have these defensive linemen and coming at you, and the offensive lineman trying to block him and bigger, it's tough to see him at times. So quarterbacks have been trying to find him in that windows, but yeah.
He's like 5'6" or something like that.
Yeah, he's 5'6" and quick, and he seems like the type of player. If he gets a running back screen or one of those quick screens, he's good. I really would like to see him as a kick returner, but once again, it's pretty deep.
Kickoff return or maybe even punt return guy right there.
Yeah, it'll be great. Problem is it's tough for him to crack there because you got Huntley, you have Will Smith if he was going, and then you got Scott still there as well. It's tough for him to find a true avenue to stay on there. Like, he's talented, but it's not to the point where he can take a job away from somebody else. So it's either practice squad or else.
Not even on roster, man.
Yeah.
Woo! What about these tight ends, man? Tyrese Jackson. I heard he's looking good out there. We still got Ertz there. Goddard still out there. You know, Kroom, I seen him catching some ball. Wilson. How's that shaping up over there?
Who would have thought that a couple weeks ago, I mean, even when we talked last, who would have thought at this time that this would be, we all thought that was possibly one of the question marks. And now you have Ertz back, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is actually it's going to be some good competition for some of those last spots, because Hurts and Ertz have started to develop that chemistry a little bit, and you see them. I think Hurts was the targeted Ertz the most. Oh, it's fun saying that 5 times fast. Hurts targeted Ertz the most in this practice today, and even to the point where I like the one play where Hurts stood in the pocket. He had a rush around him, and he couldn't run anywhere. He stood, faced a rush, and was able to get an accurate ball out to Ertz toward the corner and for a nice play. And you see the two of them getting their timing down. They've been working together. They've been talking after practice, working around. You start to see that work starting to pay off, so that's good. Goddard's still a good tight end as well, too. You saw early on in camp, he got a lot of the targets as well, and I think they're just spreading around to see what each of these guys can do. Jackson has been Flacco's favorite target, and you can see why. I mean, being 6'6", 6'7", he used his hands pretty well. He's caught nearly almost everything thrown towards him. And just like Greg Ward has been able to do that, being a former quarterback, you start to know what the quarterback's looking at when it comes to certain coverages. And when he goes and finds a soft spot in the zone, he's on the same page with Flacco. He's sitting right there in the middle, catch the ball, and then he's picking up 5-10 yards a pop when it comes to those plays. And Flacco even said that he's been impressed by the way that Jackson's played, because Flacco spoke to us, and he's been today, and he said he was impressed by the way he's played. And you used to have Jack Stoll, you used to have Richard Rodgers, and even mention him. So
how's he doing? Does this Jackson guy look like he's gonna be that new guy that kind of creeps up into that third receiver spot, or is it just he's showing flashes right now? He's looking good early in camp. We shouldn't really put our marbles into him, seeing him play this year too much.
I want to see where he's at after the second preseason game, because looking when you go on 7 or 7, a lot of his, some of his catches are 7 or 7 has been be able to do that when there's no defensive line front. When he's on 11-11, he's still been able to play well. So that was promising. I want to see what he does when he faces a defense that he hasn't seen repetitively, and multiple defenses he hasn't seen repetitively. I think, and the thing that's going to be tough is, where do you find the spot to keep it? Like, it's tough to see any team keeping 4 tight ends. And, Ertz, unless they trade Ertz, which it looks like he's staying now, especially with all the moves they made recently. Unless,
do you think that's
Goddard's up for it,
though? The whole pushing Ertz into the limelight to kind of build his trade value back up, or do you honestly, genuinely think he's staying?
I think he's staying. After they restructured Lane Johnson and they restructured Derek Barnett's contract, they gave him some room to not only keep some breathing room in case something were to happen and he decides somebody else would pinch, it gave him room to roll over some salary to next season. And now you have Ertz there. I just think he's staying, and they've mentioned it so much is that they're really trying to build him up into the offense, get him quickly. I think if they were going to trade him by now, they wouldn't have used him so much, because they wouldn't have run the risk of injury. So I think I really truly think he's staying, and you're not keeping 4. And look what happened last year when they thought they could try to sneak Noah Tonjai away, sneak him through waivers and sign him back to the practice squad. The Colts claimed him. So if Jackson starts to play well, they're going to have a really tough spot between Richard Rodgers and him, the tough decision to make between Richard Rodgers and him, and then good luck trying to pass one of those through waivers, because somebody's going to sign Rodgers, I think, and somebody's going to sign Jackson. So it's going to be really tough.
How is Rodgers looking? That's no, that's another one I haven't heard too much about.
He's been all right. I mean, through this camp so far, the quarterbacks have been throwing a lot to the running backs and the tight ends, so they've been getting their chances. I think you haven't heard that much because, Ertz overshadowed, the whole Ertz situation is overshadowing everything right now. And you have Goddard as your 1A, 1B, 1A, use them interchangeably.
Who's been going in first out of those two?
At first, it was Goddard at first, because Ertz was still trying to catch speed, but now they're you see Ertz showing up a lot too. Is they basically, if I had to put a snap count on there, I've been mostly following the quarterbacks, but if I put the actual snap count, I'd probably say they're pretty even. So it's good. I mean, we still might see 12 personnel. I still see 21. I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised to do that because you have a lot of things that you can always run. Even if I know everybody says, well, you can put 3 wide receivers on one side, one on the other, and all stuff. You can still put 2 tight ends. I mean, they've been running some different. I'm not going to go into detail stuff, but they've been running some unique formations. Put it that way. So
I like to hear
there's some things in there. There's some things where you can. I think there's enough room on them to coincide and do well. I mean, they've done it in the past, so
like be well as in like everybody's really expecting Goddard to break out this year and be that elite tight end. Do you think with Ertz here, he's not going to get that chance to be the elite tight end because Ertz going to be taking some balls from him?
I think he can still be an elite tight end. I mean, he's motivated because he knows that his contract year is coming up, and he wants to get that big check coming up. So he's motivated. I think he wants to prove to everybody that he can be that top tier tight end. And the only thing he has to do is, I think he has to remain healthy and make the plays when he's called upon to. I think he'll hold his own this year, and I still think he'll be. He's not going, and I'll put this up there. He's not going to be a Travis Kelce type guy. He's not going to be Darren Waller type guy. I don't think he's going to be there, but I think he's going to be a good, serviceable tight end and toward the top third in the league, which is not a bad thing to have, especially if you have other pieces around that offense to use.
Now, what about Nick Mullins? I heard he's been doing a little bit better than Flacco.
At first, the first couple of days, he was playing well. He was playing well, and it was looking Flacco. Flacco started to get in a groove when it comes to his accuracy lately. It was a tough practice for everybody today when it comes to on the accuracy side. But when you look at the 2 previous games, two previous practice before today, Flacco had a Mullins beat. And the one thing that Mullins has done the last 2 days that is a little concerning, he dropped a couple snaps and he got stripped. He had suffered a strip sack too. Ooh. Which is you kind of think like it was like he's still getting over that elbow surgery he had, and he's starting to get more in the flow. You can see the tools he has is nice. He's mobile. He can throw on the run. I mean, it's a product of the Shanahan system. As a trait that's desired, and given what this offense could potentially do, especially if it's built around Jalen Hurts, having a guy who can run around, he can do that. But there's some things where some of the throws have been a little off. He did look nice and he's hit that, but Flacco lately, it looks more like he's being that more veteran guy that wants to take the short thing. He takes the check downs. He takes the quick hits just to keep the ball moving as well. But overall, I think the way it was slotted at the beginning of the season is starting to take form where Hurts 1, Flacco 2, Mullins 3. But still, once again, it's still early.
Yeah, still early. But that's nice too. All right, let's jump on the defensive side, man. Everybody's saying it's sweat season, baby. Sweat's the time to shine. Has he really been beasting these boys out there like that?
He's been looking really good. I mean, we've heard the theme about competition coming in throughout this before camp even started, and they're making that defensive end position. Who's going to play opposite of Brandon Graham? He's making it very, very interesting. I mean, he's been disruptive. I mean, when he's been going against Dillard Emalata, he's been causing problems. And it doesn't matter who. I mean, they're in the battle on their own, but it doesn't matter who. Barnett's been actually playing well too. I mean, that's the thing that you see. He's been playing inspired ball too, but between Sweat and Barnett, they're both playing well. But the thing is, that the team's not concerned about, but he's been held out last 2 days now, is Ryan Kerrigan with that brace on his wrist. So that's something to look forward to going through. They say it should be fine going forwards, but just something to look out to. But the depth they have at that position is pretty good.
I think we picked up what's his name, Johnson or Jackson?
Teron Jackson, yeah. Teron Jackson, yeah. He's been playing well too. And the thing that these guys have been doing, and the versatility they've been showing, Milton Williams as well too, he's been playing well on the outside. They've been switching fronts. They've been going 4-3. They've been showing a little 3-4. And the fact that you have guys like Barnett and Sweat, and Jackson to a point, and even Williams. The fact you can line up some of these guys in 2-point stands or play like a joker, and you start moving these guys around. I mean, I'm half expecting Amoeba to start coming around, and they all just move around, but that they haven't done it. But I would be surprised if Gannon done it because he likes to mix the fronts up. The fact that you see all these different fronts right now with these guys, and they're able to get to the quarterback in a rush, it bodes well, and they're going to have to do that because it's the secondary. You know, you have some guys. You pick up Steve Nelson. He's still Darius Slay. Secondary still has some questions behind there. So if they can get a pass rush to limit the amount of time the quarterbacks have, it cuts down the pressure that's put on that secondary to perform. So that'll be good in the long run.
What about my boy from USC, Marlon? How Marlon doing?
Marlon he missed a lot of OTAs. He has dealing with his own thing, and I think that's starting to show a little bit. It's, I think, and given the numbers game that is there at that position, it may be tough. Now, one thing that could be different as well too. They didn't have pads on, so you can't really do those one-on-one things going against centers and guards for him to truly show that, hey, you know, he's powerful enough to move the pocket in from the inside. And it also helps that he has familiarity with a version, not the defense itself, but a version of defense. When he said it was similar to the one in USC when he was on Untitled Orlando, he mentioned when he was on Sirius XM about a month ago that it emulates a lot what they do. What he did there is what Gannon's doing with the Eagles. So that bodes well for him. It means he has experience doing that stuff. But he has now that the pads are on, and when they get the opportunity to go one-on-one or just working just line on line, and even the games, he has to prove that he can push the pocket because with Cox, Hargrave, Aside Ridgeway, Williams able to move on the inside, it can play well. But also, if they're playing 3-4, he can do that too.
I'm still hoping my guy, you know, he makes the team. I'm hoping my guy makes the team. It is the first day of pass, so he still got a little time, you know, to get a good push in there. Get a good push in there. All right, what about that cornerback 3 spot? You know, Avonte Maddox, they say, is looking pretty strong there. You know, but what about Josiah Scott and McPherson?
I'll say this. I think for me personally, I think those 3 spots are locked. I mean, because Maddox looks a lot more comfortable and he's playing a lot better inside of that nickel. Steve Nelson, even though there's been a couple big plays done against him, thrown against him, against some of the speedy receivers, he's played well. He's played okay to well for the most part, and then Slay's been being slaying against this offense, and he's done against the Eagles offense. He's done well, but if I had to put a dime, if they went to a dime corner and I need a 4th corner, McPherson to me right now has earned that spot. I mean, he's been flying around everywhere so far. I mean, he was involved in, I think, like 2 or 3 pass breakups that I saw today during some of his team things. He's been doing well on that. He's been moving around. He's been flying around. He's been hustling. It seems like he's got good anticipation so far. And I think that goes well, especially when it comes to a cornerback. Scott, I mean, especially if a team goes 4 wide, put him as the other nickel corner. He has experience doing that as well too. But right now, if I had to say, if it September 12th and the Eagles are playing the Falcons today, I'm putting McPherson as my 4th corner.
Does he have any chance, you think, before the season starts to even attempt to take that away from Maddox, or Maddox is locked?
I think Maddox is locked. I really think I think he's around. I'm never going to say never. I think if McPherson all of a sudden goes ham and then all of a sudden gets like 3 or 4 interceptions during the preseason, it's like, all right, well, maybe you got to do it. And Maddox looks bad. I mean, that's the way, but I don't foresee that happening. But I think Max will be the nickel corner, but I think McPherson will be a good 4th corner on the team.
What about our safeties? How they looking back there? I haven't heard too much about Harris. Now that's another guy I'm looking to have a big season this year. How's Harris, and then who's playing alongside of him now that McLeod's not playing?
Well, Harris started out with some stuff going on, and it was tough. But I'd probably say Kayvon Wallace, to me, I think has done a good job. I think I look at it, he's made the leap in year 2, and especially with Rodney McLeod being out, you want to see a guy who can go in a box that can help support and run support. I really like for me personally, I've liked the trajectory that he's made. He's made it tough on those tight ends when they've come down the box, and he's done that. So I think overall, I go with Kayvon Wallace. If McLeod was not able to start ready, I'll go with a secondary of Harris and Kayvon Wallace. But it's taking time to hold, like the whole secondary. They're all filling each other out when it comes to, hey, what are you going to do this? We need to invert here. We need to follow this guy here. It's taking a little time there when it comes to support, but I like what I've seen from here so far.
Have they been messing Jacoby Stevens in there?
They have. I will say he had a good pass breakup during yesterday's practice. He was covering one of the tight ends. He did a good. I think it was either. I think it was Hakeem Butler. I forget I had my notes, but I think it was Hakeem Butler. He did a good job in pass breakup, and of it, that's pretty much limited to that aspect of there. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Stevens. I think for Jacoby, if he does a good job on special team is going to be where he makes his butters his bread at first, and then if you need to address an extra guy, or maybe he's one of the guys that's maybe inactive or active depending on the team they play, having him be that big nickel linebacker, or throwing him in the dime by himself. If he's able to do that, throwing him in a dime by himself so he can cover in like a semi quasi Tampa 2 with him being the linebacker. That I think that would be good for him as well. But he's a rookie, still learning things to go, and just like everything else, they have to. Yeah,
growing into the fight early.
Yeah, they're all just in the speed of the game, so that's where they go from that.
And Davion's been looking good out there. I heard he's been looking beastie. He got hurt though, did he? Didn't he?
Yeah, he got a little banged up, but he's basically day to day. So it's nothing. It probably is. If I had to categorize as one of those things, that if it was a regular season game, he probably played through it, but it's training camp, so they just want to be overly cautious with him, and I don't blame him. The last thing you want to do is have him further injured, suffer a more serious injury, and you don't want him to really take it down. So he's otherwise, when he do that, he's been one of the guys that they've been using him all over as well too. Like you see him in pass rush, you see him drop back in the pass and the coverage, and he's learned a little bit. He's gotten that experience has helped him out, I think, a lot. He seems more comfortable. Right? Yeah, he was running with the ones at times, and he's running with two. Like they've been mixing a lot of linebackers. They've been trying out a lot of things to see how it works. I mean, Sean Bradley ran with the ones for a little bit as well too. So they've been mixing, matching stuff, seeing what everybody does well against certain looks. So I think Gannon's really just testing and seeing what he has. I mean, because OTAs you can get so much, but when you start really going in training camp, you start to learn a bit more about these guys. And I think, and Sirianni said this about the offense. I think it's true with the game as well. I'm sorry, Jalen Reagor said this about Sirianni, that during the OTAs that they just want to use this period, the OTAs as a period just learning. And then when it came to training camp, bullets are flying, everything's go. So I think they're using a similar thing when it comes to those linebackers, and Davion Taylor as well too, is using the way they're using them when it came to that.
Right? Is he taking charge of that linebacker room?
Yeah, well, we haven't heard so much when it comes to him being in charge of when it comes to who the true leaders are. I would be surprised in that. And they've gotten a lot more looks because Singleton has been out, unfortunately, with he's on the COVID list. So you gotta wait. You don't have him on there. So and you lost. I think he was developing into one of the true leaders. You still have TJ Edwards out there. If I had to say for sure they know who one of the leaders are, I think TJ Edwards is one of the leaders in that linebacker room. And then you can see Wilson coming in there and stepping in and helping out, especially with the young guys and getting acclimated to that stuff. But there's a lot, especially with Singleton now, there's a lot of opportunities for those guys to come in and get some get some film and try to impress the front office.
Oh, nice. I thought JG said he was going to start Wilson no matter what. That was going to be your starting linebacker. And then the other positions we're going to fill out, you know what I'm saying? Like we probably run a lot more 2 linebacker sets than 3 linebacker sets, right?
Yeah, especially with the if teams going 3 wide. I mean, it's crazy. Who would have thought that you see base defenses are like on the way? You play more nickel, nearly almost nickel more than you play in your base defense. And gosh, I can't believe that's over the last 5 years. I've seen that happen more and more. So, and even then, when you play linebacker, you hide some things. You can play quote unquote 2 linebackers on the edges, and then next thing you know, you have all these defensive backs in the backfield. There's so many different variations. You start to see that, and not only in the pros but in collegiately, you're seeing all these different variations out there now. So I think there's a lot of these defenses you want to have positional flexibility and a lot with guys who are just athletic and can either rush the quarterback or fast enough to stay with backs coming out the backfield in that position.
Yeah, are you starting to see what JG said? Starting to let these guys have some freedom, be able to move around, or you can't really tell what kind of set these guys are in.
Yeah, you see it a little bit, like basically when because I'm trying to look through like the quarterbacks, like you start seeing the sets, like okay, is this guy coming from over here? And I will say this: when they're trying to set, and when you come to the line, when the quarterback's coming to the line, the offense coming to the line, and you're trying to see like, okay, is this guy coming? This guy coming? They're doing a good job disguising of some of these blitzes. I saw Max coming off. Max came on blitz on the inside from his nickel part. I'm sitting looking like that's new. so what they're doing, yeah, they're mixing the stuff up in different areas, and it's interesting to see the way that they're doing it. So there's going to be wrinkles. I mean, I think it was Zach who said it, but one of the players even said that they're only putting their base stuff in right now. And when you see this base stuff, it can change from week to week. So you might see three, and Gannis, you say you might see 3-4-1 practice, the 4-3 next one, but it could all change depending on the opponent they have. They say they want to try to make it not too complicated, so it allows the defenders to be athletic enough and fly the ball. So you'll see little mixed stuff here and there, but they just want to be simple enough so these guys can still make plays.
My girl Philly girl said, "What about Elliott? Is he making them kicks?"
I didn't watch him because I was watching the quarterbacks, but from what I saw from my colleagues, like Jimmy Kempski and everybody else, first practice, he went 4 for 6. He missed one close one. I think it was within like 30 some yards, and he missed another 44. From what I heard today, he was 6 for 6. So you have that, and Elliott, for the most part, given the contract, you're stuck with him. Mm-hmm. So you hope that he works his way out of it. And the thing that if I get to actually watch the battery a little bit more, the one thing I want to see is he's got a new holder on Aaron Sippos. Mm-hmm. He had Cam Johnson all those times. It's the little things when it comes to hold the mechanics of the snaps, the hold and everything. They've been staying around. It seems like that's all they do. Like whenever you look, the holder, the snap punter, you see Lovato, you see Sippos, and you see Elliott. They're always walking around with each other, and it's almost like it's a hockey line. They're trying to get the chemistry with each other, and they're continuing to work at that stuff. And I think the more confidence that Elliott has in that, the more they work together and build on towards that. I think that'll be all right.
Okay. What about Sippos?
Sippos has been I've seen a couple of things. He's got a good hang. I'll say this: he has good hang time, and the way the ball moves when it's in the air, it's almost like it moves so many different ways in there. So you think you see, okay, he's coming off his foot, it's going one direction, but when it comes there, it's almost like a punter's knuckleball. You see the ball moving every which way, and it has a lot of hang time on there. So when he's able to get it's a different angle for these punt returns to look under and try to grab. So it's different. He's held his own so far. Yeah, he's held his own so far.
You don't think we need to bring nobody to put in there and just go ahead and let him do his thing this year?
Unless there's somebody as a very good veteran that would come on extreme cheap, even though if they restructure and the Eagles probably want to roll some of that money over towards next year's cap, I think they're going to let roll with Sippos this year.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that was the one, too. Victory said, what's holding Gamewell back?
I think it's just he's trying to learn a system. I think he's just trying to learn a system. And you've heard this from a lot of rookies. They're just trying to adjust to the speed of the game. And the one thing I did see, and this is encouraging, he took a regular swing pass today and took it for 20 yards. A regular swing pass is Mullins went back, threw an accurate ball to him, went in his hands. He just took it for 20 yards. He just turned the Jets on and went for 20 yards. So I think Gamewell's going to be fine. He's going to be on this roster. It's a matter of him digesting what he's learning a whole new system, new city and everything. It's a matter of him digesting all that. And once he gets that and it becomes second nature, the place becomes second nature to him, and he just lets his athleticism take over, he'll be fine.
Oh, what up, my boy? He said, you're the reason why he got his new microphone.
Thank NJ.com for this one. This is these things help, man. But I like the mic. These mics are good. But thanks, man. Welcome to the Yeti Club.
The Yeti. Y'all gonna make me go out and get a Yeti, goddamn. I ain't got no microphone. I just use my regular microphone here. I need to go get me a Yeti. Y'all talking all that Mess about it. That Sipples is going to be a Pro Bowler. Watch. Okay.
Hey, if to be a Pro Bowl punter, all you have to do is, well, I make it sound like it's easy to do. It's definitely not. Get your kicks within the 20. Make sure you have the good cover, get good hang time. Make sure your coverage is down there to prevent the touchbacks. You'll be mentioned.
You said he got good hang time already.
Yeah. So I counted unofficially. It's like 4.3, 4.4 seconds in one of our clock.
Like in the 20. Like, have you been doing any drills like that where you can see it directional kicking, pinning it down in the 20? Hello, I can't hear you. Is it me? Is it you? No. I can't hear.
Sorry about that. Is that here now?
Yeah.
I kicked the plug out. I got so excited to talk about punting. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That means he's doing something good back there, right?
Because I haven't seen that one. The one thing, he was messing around punting walking over before practice started. He was just practicing some kicks, and he did. It was almost like he cough and cornered one that hit the 5 and rolled out of bounds too. And it's different when you don't have a rush and different and everything, but it was like he was practicing some of that too. So it's not. It could be completely different when it's in a game, but it like he was trying to practice that when it came to there.
Yeah, he said he's an all-pro, all-world athlete in Australia. Just got to work on his directional punting, his technique.
It's funny you mentioned that because Jordan Mailata was asked about like seeing, because the players from international countries will be able to wear their flags on their jerseys. And when you look at him, you now have him. You had Cam Johnston before. You have Mailata. You have Sippos. You have Matt Leo, the international pathway player. Then when you look at other parts of the field, you have Matisse Thybulle playing for in basketball, playing for Team Australia. You have Ben Simmons. Like, all of a sudden, I'm shocked there's not a small little embassy in Philadelphia for Australia. It's crazy.
Got all the Australians over here in Philly. That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, we pretty much touched all of them. What else? What else? Y'all got any questions for Chris while he's on here? Hurts. We can't talk about him. You know, how's our leader doing right now? Is he? He's
it's weird when it comes to, he's doing his accuracy. He's still working on it. Like today, he started out a little slow when it came to even individual drills and then throwing to the running backs. Like, some of the passes were just going wide and going high. But when he's been missing high and wide, and I'm not sure if he's not following through more. As well, like when he goes to deep
on a run, or just talking about in the pocket passes.
It's just when you're setting 3-step drops in practice, just 3-step drop and then laying it up for that, or he's going 5-step drop and just laying it up for either a wide receiver or he's throwing this little quick swing pass. When he's in one-on-ones, like when it's just the drills, he's been having some issues, especially today. He had it early on, but as the practice progresses, when they go through 7-7, he had his best 7-on-7 he's had all training camp, and then when he gets to 11-11, he looks a lot better. So I'm not sure what's going on when it comes to that, but you still see him. We all know he can run the ball, which is great. I think people will be intrigued when they see some of the way this offense will go. I think the main thing is going to be, and I thought the main thing is going to be, is how he's going to produce in the pocket when he's got the rush coming to him, and if he can consistently remain accurate. Because he has the arm, he's shown the ability to put some touch on the ball. He's shown the ability to throw the deep ball and throw the intermediate routes. He just has to do it more consistently. And I think as the more reps he gets, the more used to the system he comes. You see that. I don't think he's going to finish with 52%. I don't think he's going to finish with that again.
Devontae looking good together, though. I heard they looking like a dynamic duel there.
Before he left with that knee injury, they were doing all right, because that first practice, I never saw Devonta Smith like drop a ball. I was like, it was something great. They hit a back shoulder. Like, what? This happens? But then as it went on, I mean, the two of them, there's a back shoulder throw in the goal line situation where Hurts hit him. They had that it's like that chemistry came back just like that. So I think the more when he comes back, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. Like, don't get me wrong, he's missing all these snaps early on, and then having to stop, and then get reacclimated to everything, the speed and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it hinders a little bit, but I don't think it'll be as much as it was if he did have familiarity with Hurts. And the encouraging side, he's also, I like that he's getting mental reps. I saw he was walking aside. He's been talking to Aaron Moorhead when special teams drill was going on. He had the play sheet, and you see him reading the play sheet, like the script of what the plays are running for that day. You see him looking at, he's still being involved and getting those mental reps. So that's an encouraging sign. He's not just standing around looking at.
I heard he's still hitting the jugs pretty hard too.
Oh yeah, he was out before practice, just sitting. He saw Jersey like, we're all looking like, wait, is that Smith? Like I thought he was week to week, but yeah, no, he's still he's keeping his hands going and still keeping his eye going and his concentration on catches. So I was like, okay, cool.
Up now, who's the starting receivers are now that Smith's out of there?
They've been using a lot of Fulgham, Rager, and they've been mixing in Ward, and they've been throwing a lot. And Hurts been throwing to the tight ends a lot too, and the back. So they've been. It seems like they've been making an effort to make sure that they're not keying on one person, because a lot of guys are getting. If you're the first team guys, they're all touching the ball a lot, and they're all getting a lot of looks that way too. I think the most any receiver on the first, second, or third team, the most targets they've gotten each practice is 3. And that's on account. That's unofficial. I think maybe in 1-4. I think that was like a second or third team guy. But a lot of times they're just trying to focus on spreading the ball around, which is more beneficial in the offense, because if you have one guy who dominates all the targets, defenses are going to start to shift the coverage over that way. When you don't know which way the ball's going, you have even talent around everywhere. It at least holds the defense for a little bit longer than what you have one guy. So
what about the hype about Watson? I heard he scored 2 touchdowns or something like that yesterday, or something like that. Is he doing good?
Who did? I'm sorry to hear. Quez is fast. I like the move that he made on that deep side. I like the stutter step he made. He's to put that into his game now too, and he's a fast guy. I think if he had a training camp last year, he wasn't injured, I think we would have saw him a lot sooner, because guy's quick, guy's able to. He's elusive. I also like he's elusive, because you see speed guys that just I can try to run past you and throw me a 50-50 ball. No, when you get a guy who's quick enough to beat his defender within the first 5 yards to get that separation and then turn the jet sword, I think that's good. And I think he makes the roster. I put him as him having a better chance of making the roster than Hightower. I think he's performed that well, and not just with Flacco, but with Hurts as well too. So I've liked what I've seen out of him.
In front of Fulgham, because that's what I want.
I think Fulgham was going to make the roster. I put him right behind. If I had to rank them, Smith, Rager. Now I'm going to forget somebody, and I'm going to be like, why did you say this one? Smith, Rager. I still put Ward as 3, because I still think you need a guy who's a experienced guy who works the slot. Fulgham 4, Watkins 5, Hightower 6, and I put that with a little asterisk next to it. Arcega-Whiteside 6B.
No,
he's caught the ball.
JJ.
Because the problem with Hightower is his inconsistency. I mean,
still dropping him?
He is, when it comes to, you can tell with the routes, because there's times it was a couple practices ago. I think I want to say the 3rd or 4th practice. He ran a great route, and the pattern of seeing is when the guy looks like he's struggling a little bit, Sirianni will try to coach him up, go, good job, that's the way I want to see it. And then there was another route that came a few plays later that he ran too far to the outside, should have been more inside, and he heard it. He heard it. So, and especially when it comes to those last few roster spots, he hadn't in the past done well on special teams. So when it comes to a decision between a guy who's good on special teams and somebody else, you got to start looking. I mean, Jamon Osmond's looked decent as well too. So I mean, he hasn't been flashy, but he's been consistent. And same with Michael Walker. He's shown times more beginning. I don't think he's been lights out, but at the beginning of camp, he showed that he was all right. So Hightower, I don't think Hightower's a lock. I don't think he's a lock to make the roster. He's in position to. I don't think he's a lock though.
What was the other receiver we just picked up too?
Andre Patton.
Yeah,
he did all right. I mean, he's still. I think he's more of a camp body. Lack of better terms, but he's got familiarity. He knows Shane Steichen back with the Chargers, so he made the one attempt that I saw that he threw because he was mostly in split. They didn't really throw to him that I saw in like the 11-11. I think he may got one target, but for most of the 11-11s, they've been looking elsewhere. But I think he's more of a camp body himself.
Okay, we talked about that earlier, but Ness out West wanted to say, is the hype on Scott real?
I think he's probably around the fourth or fifth. I think right now I have him as my fifth cornerback because I think you're locked in with those three. With when it comes to Slay, Nelson, and Maddox, I think those are your three you roll with, especially in the nickel. And the way that Zach McPherson's played so far, I think he's earned the right to be that fourth guy. I mean, he's gotten the pass breakups. He's done well. He's been flying around the field. He's been hustling. He's got that good anticipation. So right now, I put him as four, but I can see in certain situations where you could put Scott in as that fourth guy more on the inside. I mean, McPherson has been playing more outside. I think it depends on the matchup and what teams like to if the opposition likes to put their best guys in the slot a lot more than they do on the outside. If it's an outside guy, I think I'm more apt to put McPherson as the fourth corner as opposed to fifth. With somebody, yeah, he's bigger, he's more physical. I think on the outside. When you have Scott, I think he operates a little bit better on the inside. And then if you have a team like say CeeDee Lamb or something like that wants in the inside, I'd rather take my chances with Scott as opposed to McPherson right now. And also McPherson's going against more of the third team guys, second, third team guys. So that you have that going as well too. So it's tough. But overall, McPherson I think is having a good camp, but Scott I think is right close behind him.
Yeah. Now what about Slay? Has he been locking down all of our receivers like he's supposed to?
Yeah, he's been doing really well. I mean, he was on Smith the first couple of days, and Smith liked it because he was giving him work because he was getting like, hey, welcome to the NFL. This is the type of cornerback player you're going to see in the NFL. Here you go. I think Slay's still that steady guy, and I still think he's going to do all right. I think you'll still see him follow around at times the team's best receiver, then just have Nelson go opposite. And they say they have other ways where they can go as well too. So I don't have any worries about Slay. I think he'll have a solid season again.
Yeah, because you already heard Nelson getting burned. I just want to have Slay getting burned out there too.
Not as much. No, it's not as much. Not that I've seen. I think he's been pretty good in coverage, and they've also been playing. They've been giving some safety help to both guys. So because playing that cover too. So I don't foresee him. I think he's had a good camp, and I still think Nelson's going to run. I think it's a matter of him just getting more reps and more time in the field after being on the sideline for a little bit.
Was it just overblown, the whole Smith burning Nelson? That's just overblown. And because we want to see Smith do that. Like if Nelson were shutting down Smith, we'd be saying the other thing around, like why is Nelson shutting down Smith when there's a lot more better cornerbacks out there, as opposed to Smith supposed to be an elite receiver and we're hoping he can be. You kind of want him to be able to take on that second receive that second cornerback and make big plays on them.
Yeah, especially and Nelson just looking at the thing with Nelson. You come in 2 days before camp starts, you sign, you're getting your bearings around the city, you're learning the whole new book, and then all right, well, let me see this rookie that wow, he really is elusive, and then you throw him on the field like okay, cover this guy, okay, he goes right past you. He's gotten better as each practice is going along too, and unfortunately with Smith's injury, you can't see how far he's progressed from that one too, but I'm not going to worry too much about Nelson. I think he's gotten better as it goes along, and heck, he's better than any option they had beforehand too. But right. I think he'll be fine.
You think Cowie clearing up any money to bring in Howard?
I think he's. I think
done with the secondary.
I think they're done. If anything, with all this money they have now on the cap, I think they're just rolling over for next year to have more flexibility to start making some more decisions, whether it be free agency, whether it be bringing somebody in via trade. I think that's what they're doing with it, trying to get more cap room to roll over.
One thing I didn't find out, who's playing behind Harris right now at safety?
You got Kayvon, you got Wallace.
I'm playing for
McLeod. You got Epps. Yeah, Epps is coming in. I think Epps has had a solid camp so far as well too. You have Epps back there as well too. I've been offense, but I remember seeing Epps, and Epps is moving around too. He had his moments where he basically was inside. He got burnt on. He's only been burnt on one that I remember that seeing. But overall, he's been solid. I mean, he's more of a special teams guy, but could be put in a pinch. In a pinch, he could be in there and be all right. So I'm not worried about Epps as well too. So he'll be all right.
And those other guys, like the guy, the safety, Andrews, that was brought over from Tampa Bay, or even Jaquette. We ain't saying nothing about no Jaquette.
Jaquette had a rough practice today. I'll leave it at that. He had a rough practice when he got there. It was at first he had a nice pass. It started out with a nice pass breakup, and that's when Hurts was having some issues with the accuracy. I mean, there was a back. I forget who he's throwing to, but there was a back shoulder throw that he was trying to throw, and Jaquette came over, broke it up. But after a while, there was a play following after. It was either a 9 or it's like a skinny post that he got beat on. So coming in this year, I had high hopes for him.
Yeah,
I think now he went from me being like, hey, you know what, he's going to be like number 46, 47 to okay, he's officially on a bubble, because given that the moves they made with Nelson, once they signed Nelson, he was definitely on a bubble, and then his inconsistencies at times have made it reiterated that.
What do you think we keep in, like 5?
5, I think, 5 corners, 4 safeties, if I had to guess on that one too. It could be depending on other needs in certain areas that could move to, they may be able to sneak 6, but then it goes again to what guys are going to be good on special teams and help you out later on too.
Like
I mean,
do you
take a Craig James? Do you take a Greg James? I mean, Craig James. Do you take Graylin Arnold? Graylin Arnold's had a good couple practices. He got a pick as well too. So it's there's a lot of interesting decisions they'll have to make, and a lot of these guys are going to have to differentiate themselves on special teams to make it. And those bottom roster battles, not specifically in one single position, but overall, do you keep Jackson? Do you keep Tyree Jackson, or do you keep Craig James, who can contribute? Can you keep somebody? It's so many different decisions I'll have to make on that. It's gonna be tough.
Mm-hmm. Dang, man. It seems like there could be a lot of good players getting cut from our team.
And the one thing I think that benefited a lot of these teams in a way, and I don't want this to come out wrong at all when it comes to this. When they had to make these measures for after the pandemic came in, and they allowed to have expanded practice squads with a protected squad, you can protect certain players. I think that benefited a lot because it gave a lot of these guys more jobs and still have the ability to be called up. I mean, to have a guy like last year at the end of the season, to have a guy like Jordan Howard come up when you had some issues or injury issues at the running back, or you need somebody else to help with protection, and be able to protect him and bring him up, to protect a guy like Sua Opeta, to bring him up when there's a lot of offensive line issues, and to move that to allow that roster flexibility. I think if there's anything, and that pandemic was rough, but if there's anything that came out when it came to rosters and roster construction, that having that expanded practice squad with all these new measures was one of them.
Okay. How are the rest of those backup linemen doing? Like, Petta, Toth, Jack Driscoll, like those guys. No one's really been talking about those guys.
Driscoll's had a good camp. Pryor has been steady-ish from what I've seen. Jariga's been okay. That's basically for I've been focusing on quarterbacks. But when it looks like, because basically I'm looking at it as like, okay, where's this rush coming from? If there's a rush coming from, we got an issue. We got an issue with that one.
Yeah.
But I think those guys, Herbig, I will say this, Herbig's looked leaner. He's looked in shape, and he's looked good. And to have that for a guy who's going to be your swing guard, that's perfect. We still haven't seen LaRaven Clark, the free agent from the Colts that they signed. Yeah. He's still on the sideline. He's still unable to practice. So you won't be. I would love to see him eventually. Yeah. We signed him via free agent. So I would love to see him show up and play a little bit. But
what's Landon?
He's still doing. He's been on the sideline as well too. They've been observing him, and Clark have been observing, because he's. Technically, I think he'll be designated a non-football injury because it happened back in with Alabama. So hasn't practiced yet. They've been on the sideline. They've been observing. They've been listening to Coach Jeff Stoutland, offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland. They've been listening to him. So they're just going to try to take up as much knowledge as can and try to throw them in there. But if push comes to shove and they need a swing tackle, you have the loser of the Dillard and Mailata battle for left tackle. You have that because if I think Mailata's winning this, to me personally, Mailata won the battle
already
because when you look at the rush, like when I'm saying, like you see where the pressure is coming from. I've seen more come in when Dillard's been in there than when you see Mailata. So personally, I think and it's still early. Maybe something swings and everything changes, but I think right now Mailata has the inside edge. So you have Dillard's you can use as a swing tackle. You have Driscoll, who's can be your backup right tackle, who's done well. Herbig's your swing guard. Jariga's your backup center right now, and then you fill in from there out. Pryor.
But have they moved either one of those guys to the right side ever? Like with the second team?
Not with the second team, no. I just know Mailata's had experience because when he originally came to the league, they trained him to be the right tackle, so he has experience doing that. And Dillard played that right tackle against the Seahawks back in that 19 game where they had to change it up because it was rough. But
I'm in practice right now. They're just standing on the
it's
left.
just left. They just want to see as many reps as they can do on the left side because they want to see what these guys can do in the competition. But yeah, Lane Johnson's looked all right. Brooks looked all right. Yeah, these guys are Brooks before he signed with the hamstring, but a lot of these guys they've been proving to hold their own. So the depth is a strength.
You said Pryor's the one that filled in for Brooks.
You had Herbig's been filling in for Brooks, and then we have also had Pryor coming. Yeah, Pryor's come in to play a little bit as well too. I mainly seen Herbig come in there and take that spot. So I've seen him. So he's held his own so I wouldn't be I think when you look at the depth compared to last year, and that was the thing that held it on. If there was a silver line to all these guys being injured, the fact that these guys were able to get the experience to play and learn, they can bring that to this year. So they have a lot of experience depth there.
Okay, well, going into the rest of this week, because that was day one of pads. So we got 3 more days? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
They're all Friday, and they'll be back Saturday, and then Sunday they're at the link.
Okay, so you got the rest of this. Tell me what are you most excited or looking forward to for the next couple of days?
I want to see when they go live one-on-one. I want to see how Hurts builds if he's able to string an entire practice to accurately throw the ball. Like I just want to see one throughout the training. I just want to see one where he said, "Well, because he started either slow. He either had the hourglass where he started out very well, then he struggled on 707, and then he came back and played well. I want to see a full practice where you're like, hey, you know what? That was from the beginning when they walked out to the field to the way they walked off the field. They look great. Now, I know nobody's going to make every 100% of throws. Nobody can do it. I still don't think, even if you got Tom Brady or Mahomes or anything, I don't even think there's somebody that can get 90, 95% of throws in a practice. Everybody's going to have one or two that are off. I just want to see one where it looks like, hey, consistently, he's consistently getting the ball in the areas to where he's supposed to one time. And that's the thing. His decisions making has been fine. When he's running, he's been fine. His deep balls are fine. It's when it's just short to intermediate routes that he's had some issues with. If he can, I just want to see one practice where he's able to have it from the individual drills to the 707 to the 1111s that you say, hey, you know what? I can see what if it's incomplete, I can see why it was incomplete because it was maybe the route was inside or the defender made a good play. I want to see one full practice that's like that. And then for defensively, I just want to see them if they can continue with the pads on to put the pressure on this offense.
Okay, man. Well, hey, man, that's some great stuff you came with today. I'm pretty sure everybody loves it. We got our questions out. We got some answers started. Like you said, it's still early, so hopefully we have some more juice coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Man, thank you again, Mr. Franklin, for coming on here, giving us the word and the insight on our Philadelphia Eagles, my guy.
Hey, man, it's always talking good to you, BIRDGANG, man. It's always fun talking football. You never get bored. You never go. It's always fun talking ball, man. It's always fun talking ball.
Hell yeah, we definitely going to get back on here again, and get you back on here so we can keep that insider thing going. So,
thanks, man. Appreciate it, man.
Do you have any other lives coming up here? Any other channel members? We got.
I might be on with Jimmy. I might be on with Jimmy in a little bit. In a couple of days, try to figure some stuff out. But it's just been hectic. It's been hectic the last couple things. But it's
all right. Well,
So come around,
hey,
I'll trim
don't
it
you
out.
keep my Tuesdays? Give me some Tuesdays, Bubba guys. Hey,
I
it's always
appreciate
a
it.
blast having you on the show. Thanks again. I won't keep you up too long, and we can go ahead and get out of here. But tell them where else they can find you. Because you definitely are not just on YouTube; you're other places as well.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'm on NJ. If you go to nj.com/Eagles, articles are on there. If you want to follow me on Twitter, C Franklin News. It's the same on Instagram. I've been trying to get a little better on Instagram, trying to post pictures of what's going on in practice, but videos definitely show up on Twitter. But
I
follow me
definitely
on there.
like videos. I've been liking them. I've been seeing them down. Like, heck yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Hey, I'm trying to get the insight because I know it's not a lot of people can get into the NovaCare. So up to when before we're told, hey, put the cameras away, I try to get as much as I can on out there. So
Are they really strict on that? It's like,
oh yeah.
put your
Oh
cameras
yeah.
away, guys.
They'll have the security guards because when they have the fans that come in there as well too, they can't record either. So it's like cameras down because they don't want to give anything competitive away when it comes to foot placement and everything else. No, we don't. There's no CIA cameras. Also, someone with the glasses that have the camera in the middle. They're going, "Oh no, this is my regular glasses.
What are you
What's
talking
going on
about
here?" Oh, it's fun.
Oh man, it's always a pleasure. But do they have something to stop you from doing that, or
they have the guards on the outside. They have the guards that go through. They radio and saying because everybody knows every practice is script, so they want to tell you, hey, they know they're about to go into 7-7, they're about to go 11-11s, but they'll go up and down the sidelines, going, okay, no more recording, guys, no more recording, guys. They're nice about it, like no more recording, guys. Just don't take like in the middle of 11-11s, put the camera, go, oh, what's this here? No, turn it down. Some people have tried it. They were nice, but like you can't no recording. They'll be more firm saying no recording because they don't want to give other teams looking in and go, oh, they run this here and they run this here. So they're trying that.
Little sneaky guys. We got to get something in there, the pen cap. Like I'm just writing notes. See?
Yeah. So what do you do when you guys are going 4 wide and it's on the left hash? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, stuff like that. Yeah. They're trying not to give that stuff away on there. So they're trying that. Oh, don't mind this hole in the notebook. Wink, wink. Yeah, they don't want any of that going on. They don't want to give any competitive advantage away. So
standing there, so arm to the side.
Yep. Have my notebook right there. All right. And then if we have our text service I'll put my phone, what I'll do specifically to make sure I'm not recording or think I'm recording. I have my notebook. I put my phone right on the notebook with the camera down. And I'll start texting out like updates any updates from there or tweets updates. Other than that, I'm not trying to get credential revoked.
Hey, I got the spot, man. I ain't trying to leave here. That's for sure. Well, hey, man, pleasure having you again. Like I always say, fly, Eagles, fly. BIRDGANG Nation Sports Talk is rising. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go check out my boy Chris on Twitter and Instagram because he is putting out the fire news out there on our birds. So, till next time, BIRDGANG, we out.